All right, hey everyone. We're here for the Libra Moon episode of Everything Under the Sun. Um, Jenna and I talked about it, and we decided on equality because we had to save everything under the sun. Um, oh wait, hold on. Jenna and I talked about it.
Oop, that was my fault. Sorry.
Really, was it? I thought it was maybe my window was open.
I had
We talked about maybe doing a love episode, but then we realized that Valentine's Day was coming up, so then we decided on equality for the Libra Moon. So, how is everyone doing? Good. All right.
Good.
Oh, Giles coming in on the chat. Do you want to come into the room, Giles?
Yay!
I'm pretty sure Jenna and etc. would love to meet you in person.
Yeah, we've never met via live stream.
Yeah. And there's
right. He's on Facebook, and I'm talking to him in YouTube. That doesn't work.
there's 5 people watching right now. If anyone wants to come in the room, just let us know in the chat. We will send you the link. Giles, I think I emailed you the link, so feel free to pop on in to the room. Okay.
Did you choose this, Andy, because it's right on top of your Venus?
Oh, we just chose it because the moon and Libra in general. Although I did have a Giles, do you want to come in the link that I sent you to your email, or you can go to the chat in YouTube's and then Jesse can chat with you there. Just trying to get everyone situated in the right place. Anyway, all right. Well, so did anyone have any comments about equality? Oh, do you want me to sing you the song, Jenna, the Parity Party song?
Yes, I would love that.
So, do people know what parity is? Parity.
I had to look it up. Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah, I know what it means just because I know what disparity means, and all words are put together.
Oh, disparity! I never thought of that word being parity.
That's how I taught vocabulary. I taught parts of words, and then it's like if you know the parts, you can figure out what any word means. I get really geeky about it.
Yeah.
And that prefix comes from Greek, like deus, D-U-S, like dystopian, dysthymia, dysphoria. They're all, it's like the bad prefix.
Exactly.
Don't diss me.
Oh my God. So disparity would be lacking in parity or not having parity. So parity is like equality. Yeah. Okay, so Jenna, I made up this song called Parity Party to help Libras who were in disparitous relationships, because one of the things about Libra is that like it partners up with people, but often it partners up with people who are like not equal to them, and then they have all these problems through that. And so here's the song Parity Party. It's very short. It goes, parity party, we are having a parity party. That's the whole song.
I was just getting going. Can we listen to it on repeat?
Yeah. Let's all sing it. Parity party, parity party.
I forgot the lyrics.
Oh my God. Hi, Jael.
Hi. I don't know if it's coming in good enough. You guys sound awesome and robotic.
It's good enough, I think.
Yeah. I do too. Yeah. Those are our natural voices. We're very robotic.
Nice. So, okay, any thoughts on parity, equality, or equity? Jenna, do you want to lead this hour? You can.
Sure. I'm actually really excited about this because when we talk about equity and equality and how they're like different than each other, and like when people say fair, it's like, well, what lens of fair do you think? So we were hoping to do the dice rolling. Oh no, we lost JL. It was interesting when JL was here because we had top of the screen, bottom of the screen parity. Could we say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And right now we don't.
We have disparity.
We have disparity. Everybody's learning right now. Up, and now we have parity. How beautiful for us. All right. We all see the screen the same way, so I'm going to roll the dice unless anyone has any questions about what equality is.
Well, how is equality different than equity?
Equality is giving everybody the same thing. and equity is considering like the different needs and different like other things, but pretty much like it's, equality would be giving everyone the same test, and then equity would factor in reading levels or other things, and maybe like having like if a kid is like significantly below reading level, providing them a word bank, like or some definitions.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a good friendship with somebody where like I have like more resources than him, like maybe financially, but he's funnier than I am, so I feel like it's good parity because like no, it's good equity because I might buy him dinner, but he tells me a lot of jokes and makes me laugh. Does that count?
I think so.
But it can be like anything, like two people might bring different things to the table in a relationship.
Yeah.
Like I bring humor to my relationship, and Sam cooks and cleans and manages our money, and his name's on the mortgage. But that seems fair, I think.
And that would be equity. I think it's like too like unequal if it's unequal if you're looking at like expecting the same thing that you're giving.
Well, in astrology would say that because we have different charts, we actually are inclined to give her different things and have different aptitudes. So astrology would support equity because no two people can give the same thing.
No, and if they did, that would be disparity, because if you have it's all on one side, the seesaw can't get up off the floor. Yeah. You're all on one side. You have to have two different things going on that kind of meld.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Shane. Do you have any comments on equality or equity?
And also when you think about love languages, like my love language, I should take a test, but I love when Sam gives me foot rubs and I hate giving foot rubs. So our love language, I'll do something else instead, such as I'm always the one like turning over the laundry or doing mundane tasks.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because in parity, you don't want to be, or in equity, you don't want to be tit for tat. But I am always counting things like that. Jenna, I'd be like, oh, well, I'm like, well, Shane's over there doing the cat box, so I'm going to sweep the floor. Like, I'm always like trying to like keep it like equal with different things, you know? Sorry, Jay-Z, were you going to say something?
Well, I think equity gets tricky because it is, in order to say there's equity, you still have to ascribe a certain value to each of the contributors, or their contributions rather. And then that becomes, I guess, as Ricky would say, a conversation.
Yeah.
Because people will have different ideas of value of things, right? And then I think what you were talking about, Andy, like when a Libra who just like craves partnership ends up with someone in a partnership with someone that there is no equity, because there isn't equality, but there also isn't equity, but it's kind of tricky to judge whether or not that's happening. What do you guys think about that?
So I actually read a book on this, and in relationships, you're supposed to give the other person what they value. Like, for example, like when people try to buy me dinner, I don't really value that because I'm like, no, thanks. I would rather buy my own dinner because I'm an independent woman. So they're like giving me something that isn't of value to me. Like buying me dinner. But like if somebody like shows up on my Facebook page and chats with me during my boring workday, I'm like, oh my God, I love them. Like, right. So it's like you have to figure out what the person actually values and then give them that. And both partners are actually supposed to do that. Yeah. It's not easy though.
Yeah, what if the other person doesn't, what if you value foot rubs and the other person's like, oh dang, I do not like giving foot rubs?
You're not the partner for me.
No, then you gotta go to the foot rub, the Asian massage place where they specialize in foot rubs.
Yeah, I was thinking of like a massager.
Outsource it.
Yeah, like
outsource the. Yeah.
Well, that's a contraindication, I think, when one person wants a thing and the other person doesn't want to give that thing.
So it's also like, of some relationships, or equity is something that often comes into play because it's like something's been going unchecked for a long time. Like with health disparities, it's like once one thing has become more equitable, there's another thing because there's been like a long time of not considering different groups of people. So I'm thinking about in a relationship, if there wasn't equity and we're trying to have it, it's like you have to kind of release that tit for tat part of like it's never going to actually kind of make up for if you were showing up more than the other person, but now it's equitable. Is that enough for it to be like, will it, you know what I mean? Because it's still like, oh, but this part of the relationship wasn't. And I feel like that's hard sometimes to kind of let go of for someone who's like is generous or very considerate.
Like resentment.
Yeah, like I'm like, once resentment's there, can you be equitable? Like, is it like if you start showing up now, because it's almost like, is it really equitable to then try and like compensate for, okay, I wasn't showing up, or I wasn't meeting you where you like the way you were meeting me?
I think parity is interesting because to me that's like both people trying equally hard. Like you're both going at the relationship equally hard.
Right.
So
maybe
maybe
we start later with that, or no? Is it like not possible?
Are you talking about the concept of past parity?
Retroactive parity.
Yeah, I guess like, I mean, maybe you just have to forgive and then move forward. But I'm like, what happens if it starts off with disparity and then can you then bring in parity?
Yeah, because that is tricky because it's like sure, fine for now, but then yeah, what about the past debt? Is there parity debt?
Yes, debt is a good word.
Well, what about the affirmation, everyone is trying their hardest 100% of the time, and just living on that assumption? No.
I don't think that's true.
I don't like that too.
I think that's spiritual bypass, and it will get you into trouble.
What about expectations?
What about them?
Yes, what about them in a relationship? As far as parity goes, as far as we're talking about the balance, one person's point of view of balance might be different than the other person's idea of what their balance is.
Yeah. Like someone who thinks they deserve more effort from the other person than they seem to give out.
Yeah, the relationship in itself is like almost like its own thing in between two people who have two, you're two different souls. You're different. I don't care how much you are the same, you're still different. There's a difference always in your heart, in your expectations of what you want in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And expectations could be a killer as far as balancing, because how much weight is it from one person to the other person in their perspective of what you're saying? You have to really be able to communicate well and to be able to connect in that way. Otherwise, it starts falling apart. The seesaw is broken.
Maybe there can be a pinch point in renegotiation, Kimber, if things have got okay. So there's this concept of a high desire partner and a low desire partner. This happens in disparitous love relationships where, like, let's say one person wants to hang out more than the other person. This is the high desire partner. This is the low desire partner. And they say that the low desire partner holds all the power because they're like, I want to hang out. I don't want to hang out. I want to hang out. And this person wants. And so this actually person has all the power and this person's actually disempowered in that equation. And like, so you're supposed to fix it because otherwise it gets, but I think there has to be a pinch point and then renegotiation, or this person has to become low desire to like want this person less, or there has to be something that does rebalance it.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that makes sense. And I think not thinking about like a relationship that starts that way, but even in like a healthy relationship that is equitable, that's a constant renegotiation. Because like, what if one partner's parent dies? Like, can they continue showing? I don't know. Sometimes you going to need to give more, and that is equitable because of what we're all going through.
So like lifetime parity versus momentary.
Yeah, like it's like, is it the cumulative or average parity is there, or is it like we're going like it's a consistent daily thing?
No, Kimber, listen, it's the same. I'm getting back to the seesaw thing. You're balancing out.
Yeah.
You're doing good. You're doing good. All of a
The
sudden,
Libra scales.
two more bricks are on one side. Oh, it's not as
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's like, how do you have to acknowledge the bricks, and you have to, like what Andy said, you have to be able to remediate it.
Yeah.
To get back that balance.
What if you have one partner who everything seems to come easily for, and then the other partner has like a zillion squares in their chart and everything's always going wrong for them? Can they ever have a balanced relationship?
Yes, if there's an awareness of if both people are aware of what their charts are, and you know what the issues are, you can work through them. I mean, and it takes a lot of compassion, it takes a lot of love, it takes a lot of patience to be able to look at the other person's chart. And you may not get it. Say you have no squares in your chart, but this other person does. It's like, and the person might get aggravated. Like, why are you so like always blocked, or why, and there has to be a good communication for them to be empathetic to the person that has all the, the squares in their chart. It may be just, stuff that's not real, but for them it is, like everything's a problem for this person. It's like, oi, it's like, what do you do with that? You have to be patient, and you have to be able to talk with that person to at least try to understand why. It's to find the balance. This is all about trying to find the balance, right?
There's also the balance of like, is your life that hard inherently, or is it the way you're approaching your life? Is it like
exactly
worry
yes.
all the time, that's why your life is hard, or something like that?
Yeah, I get.
Well, I guess, Debbie, in your example, like there's the one person who has to be patient and compassionate, and then the other person gets to be like an angry, upset baby.
Mm-hmm. Well, at one
Depends
point,
how hot they are.
yeah. If you don't fix it, if you don't fix that, it's going to be, there's going to be an exit somewhere. This is not working then.
I wonder if there's like an inner gold opportunity there, where the person who sees that other person as having such an easy life, like I'm sure the easy life person, no one's like, my life's easy. Like I'm sure they don't identify that way. So it's almost like they see in them an ease with which they move through life, and and the person with the hard squares is valuing that. So they want to almost learn how to be more like that.
Well, Giles making a really good point that maybe the person with all the easy aspects lacks grit and character. I mean, I do think as someone with 3 squares in my chart personally, I found the perfect match, which is to have a partner with a more easy chart than I have, but like with 1 T square in it, so they have a hard time also sometimes, and so they understand what it's like to have a hard time, but they don't have as hard of a time. So it's like, but I do think the squarey person can provide a lot of entertainment with diamonism. Like I do think with really easeful charts, it's like, what is it entertaining? And I think entertainment is one of the things that like super square charts do provide is so and I think it depends on the composite chart. Like if you have a good composite chart, I think you would like their squarey chart more. Like if it's a hard composite and they got squares, like get them out of there, man. No,
Can I make something about the composite chart? It's funny. I know that this is, if you have a good composite chart, it's great. I think it's best if it has like the major components that are working together. My first husband and I were born on the same day. I think if you have too much of the same, let's imagine, some crappy, transits are going to be hitting. It's going to hit both of you at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
If you have such a, the composite is so integrated that when you're having a crappy day, guess what? Your partner is going to be having a crappy day too, in another way. And so that's got to be worked through too as well for balance.
Jay-Z, in that situation, what would have made it equal? I mean, if the person had been aware of their squares and transits, would that have helped?
Um, yeah. I mean, because I do think that the person who has a easier time because of their chart can be more compassionate because that would come more easily to them. And I do think it has to be a situation where like the other person is trying. Right? Because then, if not, after a while, like Debbie said, it's like it's just gonna run its course, right? Whatever the initial entertainment or other attraction was, or the grit and character inherent in people that have squarey charts or whatever, you know.
I don't think I have grit. I don't know what that means, I guess. But
No, I'm kind of laughing because I don't
Grit.
necessarily agree that that's true. That like you know, people who have hard charts have great in character, and people who have easy charts don't.
No, what there's about an experience. I think that has to do with the experience. If somebody who has a chart that has a lot, no squares at all, they don't really understand that when something does hit from maybe a transit, like why me? Why me? Because they've had it good. They have it easy. For actually, people who have a lot of squares are people that I've known are much more compassionate because they've been through it all. They've been through it all. And so they can be more compassionate.
Cuber, did you have a comment?
I was thinking of a few people I know who have like the bundle like in a trine shape, and so they only have trines and sextiles, and just they're very contained, or it's like I can handle it, and like it's not that they haven't been through things, but it's more, I would say interpersonal conflict was a challenge because it's like more of I want to pull in, or like we like just, but I don't, I'm like, it's a balance, but I do think like experiences. I don't think I was born with grit. I do think I've gone through some experiences where I had no choice. I hate when we say like kids are resilient, because I'm like, well, they really have no choice but to have to continue being here. But it's like resilience is like, is that, do we really have it, or do we really have no choice that we have to try and figure out how to like push through? But the thing I was thinking was around, I feel like showing up for someone who, like with Jay-Z's example about like if one person is like kind of giving more, this other person's going through a lot of challenges in like a transit or a temporary situation, that is easier for me. But I do think I'm a Cancer Mars, so I like to take care of people. And what I really need though is to feel like what I'm doing is seen or valued. And it's a lot harder for me to want to keep giving if it feels like it's taken for granted. And I think when it's like one person is always that person and it like challenged and they're not seeing that, and the other person has it easy, it's like, well, what if they're sick one day just like with a cold, and it's like they need one thing. I feel like it's a lot easier to, for that resentment, or like it's like, well, I need this one thing, how can I not get it?
So I have a comment about this, and some of you have probably heard me talk about this. So sorry if this is redundant, but you know, the ancient constellation for Libra was this Dugon, the yoke between two oxes. It was not the scales, and the reason I put the two oxen on the thumbnail was because it's in Christian theory they talk about being equally yoked, which is if you have oxen of the same size and you yoke them together, they plow the fields epically. But if you put a big oxen with a small oxen, it drags around the small oxen by the neck, and they both are dying. And you know, and so with Libras, you have to teach them to equally yoke, because otherwise, so I think, Jay-Z, you're asking the question of what do you do when you have a really strong chart or a really strong life, or you've developed grit or whatever, you're succeeding, and you get with somebody who's a smaller oxen. I mean, no offense to people who are struggling, but I do think there are, it would be like a CEO dating somebody who, I don't know, is not nearly a CEO. Not to say a CEO is better. It's you can have a small oxen with a small oxen, and that's an equal yoking, and everyone's plowing the fields better together. It's just when you pair them up like that, it's not healthy for either party. You know, so I do think maybe that was an unequal combination, and that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe the equal there is spiritual. Like a lot of us who know our charts, I think our spiritual you can't say you're a spiritual master, but we're not spiritual babies. We're watching our charts, we're watching our transits, we're remedying things like in real time. Like we're actually doing a lot of spiritual work. And people who don't know their chart and don't know their transits, they act like we're weird, but they're actually underdeveloped compared to us spiritually. No offense to anyone who's listening who doesn't watch their chart, and why would they be watching this show? I don't know.
I had a similar conversation today in one of my gemstone groups that is very much not about the metaphysical side of it. And normally they don't talk about this kind of stuff, but they were basically like blasting people who believe in the metaphysical properties of gemstones. And it's like, it's similar. I was just like, look, like I completely believe it, and fine, go ahead and laugh at me, but everyone's on their own path. And I wasn't trying to parrot them or anything about like, oh, it's about a higher level of consciousness. But at the end of the day, once you see spirituality in action and you really experience it and you get years of experiencing it behind you, you start to like, it's a no-brainer. Like, it's not even about believing in it. It's real. Like, how much more could I believe in it? But some people just aren't on that journey, similar to people who just are going to be small oxen, and that's what their journey is for this lifetime.
That's right. And if you're the big oxen, are you willing to live with that? Or if you're the little oxen, are you willing to be dragged around? I mean, are you like, sure, I love it, give me some more, I don't think so.
I think a big oxen could put a small oxen in their cart.
Yeah, that's remediating it.
But they should not yoke their neck to it.
That's right. And maybe that's the thing, that you have to be
adaptable. That's what sidecars for, Debbie.
I hate to quote Taylor Swift, but there's a song on her Tortured Poets department that was like, it came out when I was going through my divorce, but it was like, my spine split in two from carrying us both up the hill. And it's like when you said like the big ox puts a little, it's like at some point though, like it can get a lot, even if you sign up for it.
And Kimber, I was thinking of the like, and then I saw only the one set of footsteps and realized it was my Lord carrying me.
The Lord is the biggest oxen.
Poseidon.
Images
Lord oxen.
Childhood memory like that.
Yes.
Oh, I love
that. Sorry if we've offended any huge oxen or any small oxen.
I do want to say something though, of kind of going to religion, but something I've been reflecting on, and I grew up really religious, and I'm still like, I don't know where I'm at, but it's the whole like, we kind of train people to have unconditional love, and I think that's really dangerous when we're thinking about equitable relationships, because I feel like a parent to child should be unconditional love, but it's like sometimes I feel like unconditional love turns into making excuses for abuse and like control and like really unhealthy dynamics, because like you want to be a good partner, it's like you can't give up on that relationship. But that's something that's really ingrained in religion that as I grew up, I realized like kind of set some of my friends and myself up for like not a great time when we were married in like weird relationships, because it's like, oh, but I want to be a good spouse, and if I don't love this person unconditionally, then that's not true. I don't know, can unconditional love and equality or equity really coexist?
I remember Gabor Mate talking about something kind of on this line, where he was talking about autoimmune disorders and the behavioral traits in people with autoimmune disorders who tend to kind of shove everything down and do the role of like, I love these people unconditionally, so it's okay that I'm being treated this way. It's okay that, I'm having to be the big oxen and pull all these tiny toxic oxens behind me, even though it's hurting all of us. And he said that our culture, I'm pretty sure it was Gabor Mate, it might have been somebody else though, he was saying that our culture kind of fosters this behavior, especially in women. And we see autoimmune disorders 90% of the time are in women. And it's interesting to think about like, the energy is the energy is the energy. Like Libra is trying to balance us. So when we have this personality or behavioral imbalance, it's almost like the body is trying to let us know by having some sort of visceral reaction to what's going on, because it's trying to restore the balance. So like if I'm somebody who lets my family walk all over me, and then I get diagnosed with a chronic illness that forces me into a vegetative state, it's almost like this weird way of my body is trying to create Libran balance. My body is trying to create equity by saying, no, you're doing too much. So we're actually pumping the brakes and you don't get to consent to that.
Now that you mentioned that, I was thinking about this right before we got on, and I'm thinking about the outer planets in Libra. How did Libra play out in those generations where it was in those the outer planets, like Uranus was between 1968 and 1974. So the people who are between 51 and 57 years old right now, they're the ones who had Uranus in Libra. That was probably around the time when, between that time when marriage was kind of like poo-pooed, that, people were like, wanted to be more independent. It was like the hippie, generation and that kind of thing, particularly in the middle of it. What about Neptune in Libra? The people who are 68 to 83 now, that was between 1942 and 1957 when Neptune, that was a very artistic time also. How does that influence us with when we have those outer planets in Libra and Pluto in Libra? Anybody who's 42 to 53 is has that, and it's from 1972 to 1983. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of transition and going through that time when there was if there was going to be balance in when you talk about relationships. I don't know, there was kind of like it wasn't that good a time for relationships at that time.
That's very interesting, Debbie, because based on what you're saying, I'm thinking about the people in my life and their marriages that are unhealthy. So bad Libra going on or whatever. But it's like Neptune in Libra, that generation, it's almost like I'm going to just dissolve into the inequality. I'm going to lose myself for the sake of the inequality. Whereas Uranus people, the people that I'm thinking of are like, kind of like, I'm just going to shut everyone else out because everyone disagrees with my relationship. I'm going to just leave society. I guess the positive thing would be leave the unequal relationship rather than that, like having that kind of shocking disrupt to it. But then Pluto, it's more like, okay, we learned how to get divorced and we learned how to not shame divorce. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And
absolutely.
Like, I feel like Aquarius to me, Uranus in Libra too was also when like the Stonewall riots were happening. And I know interracial marriage equality was happening, like the Supreme Court case. And so there was still where maybe you did have to like flee to be safe, but there was just like a breaking from what was seen as like mainstream, more visibility.
Yep.
I find the Pluto and Libra generation, I mean, they all pass down to each other, right? The Neptune and Libra started to idealize like feminism a lot. And, it's sextile that Pluto and Leo. So a lot of the women in that generation are really strong and they started equalizing or starting to dream of equal relationships. And then they gave over the Uranus and Libras who kind of mixed things up for a while. And now the Pluto and Libras, we are like working hard for those equal relationships. I mean, I see in our generation of like a lot of conversations, a lot of interaction, trying for equality in all the senses. Jenna, I pulled out Judy Saphir's book, Sacred Psychiatry, because she helps people get off meds from this book. And there's a chapter called Breaking Away from Energy Vampires. And she talks about how, I guess, like somebody who's taking all of the energy in a relationship would be considered like an energy vampire. But she's saying it makes you sick to be with that kind of relationship. I just want to say Judy agrees with you.
I'm in the middle of reading that too right now.
I love that Judy agrees with me because I kind of idolize her. I love the work that she's doing.
She's amazing. Yeah.
Off all my psych meds. I would have loved to have her in my corner when that happened.
It's amazing.
Should we roll the dice?
What do you guys think? Are we ready?
Yeah.
All right. 3, Debbie.
Oh gosh, I had something in mind and I can't remember what it Let's skip me for now. Get somebody else because I can't.
5, Jay-Z.
Oh, I feel like I just asked a big, huge question. That was kind of my question. So skip me too for now.
All right. Lots of skipping. We could talk about the equity of skipping. No, I'm just kidding.
Equal skips.
It's 11, so should I just say 1 and it's Andy?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. I got one. Okay. So I want to talk about social capital and equity or equality. So how do you equalize relationships? So, okay, so like let's say we can count social capital as like friends on Facebook or friends on Instagram. Like let's say somebody has like 200 friends on Facebook and another person has 9,000. Like can they have an equal relationship with such different amounts of social capital, or how can we equalize relationships among people who have different amounts of social capital? It could also be like the minister of a church who has like 1,000 followers, and then like someone who goes to the church and has like 5 best friends. Like can they have an equal relationship with different amounts of social capital?
I don't think so. That's the way I roll anyway, though. I have my Neptune in Libra, and I just think that in the second house, I think anything can work out. I just believe that we can find balance. I don't think of it in those terms of like who's higher or lower. If you are of like mind, you're equal. That's just the way I see it.
I also feel like they're different. They could have different types of social capital because like whose friends, or maybe my 5 best friends are the ones that are going to show up when we need support. But you know what I mean? It's like but the other social capital is like this person has more influence and like a bigger platform. So I think it's just more of what is social capital.
And
Yeah.
what value? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it's like to me it's like those Donner circles of like you can only have like a certain amount of real close friends. And then the ones that it's like concentric circles as you get to those bigger numbers. And if someone has 9,000 followers, they don't have 9,000 best friends. They don't have any more than the 30 that you can have, because that's how human communities work. So I think I'm agreeing with like what Kimber's saying, that like it's different to compare them.
Mm-hmm. And what do the people value out of that relationship? Like if I met somebody on the street and they just happen to be really interesting to me and we hit it off, and I'd be like, let's be friends. Like I don't even know what their social capital is in other circumstances, but for me, I'm like, you're a unique individual that I am interested in watching be unique. Like that's how I kind of make friends or make new connections. Just people kind of have a spark about them. But yeah, I think also, for instance, what type of relationship are you trying to have? So I remember I'll talk about it again, going to Greece. And when people would try to talk to Stephen Forrest, he's famous. He has probably 9,000 friends or followers, probably more. And they'd always want to talk to him about astrology. And I was like, well, you know what? I want to have a friendship with him. So I'm going to actually talk to him about his cat. And then I'm going to ask him what kind of music he likes. Like, as in like trying to have a relationship that's not part of what that unequal social capital part of that person's life is, but rather be like, let's come over here and have a conversation about something where we're actually equals and see if we actually like each other's personality. Not over here in this business area where we're different, but over here.
Yes. Yeah. See, I agree with that, Jenna. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
What do you think, Andy?
Yeah.
Well, I think those are all good points. I mean, I guess I would have to go back to like first of all the composite chart. Like, is it an equitus, and is it a nice union energetically? First of all, like outside of how do you all smell good to each other? Do you even get along? And then I think you can build from there. And I think there are different values. Like the person with more friends or followers or whatever their capital comes from, they have a value, which is maybe they can invite their friend to a lot of big groups and things like that. But maybe the other person's like a really good cook. And so they can cook for them and, before they do their sermon at church or something like that. So I think it comes down to that value question of like, can they both give each other things that they actually value? And in that way, the social capital becomes like a moot point. It'd be similar to, can you be friends with somebody who has more money than you? Because that's actual capital. Like, can you have an equitous relationship, with a money disparity? Not to ask another question.
I think that's very hard, to be perfectly honest, because I think it's hard it's harder to get close to someone because eventually it'll come up and you can't really relate on that subject. I have a friend who is very well off, and she talks about how discouraged she is about how few opportunities she has. And it's very hard for me to find compassion for that, because I'm like, what do you mean so few opportunities? Like, you can literally buy anything that you want, and it's like, but you choose not to. So I don't know. Or I once was complaining to my mom about paying my bills like 20 years ago, and she was like, oh, I totally understand how you feel. My second guest bedroom desperately needs to be updated decorating, and I just don't have the time to do it. And I'm like, this is a very not the same conversation.
Yeah.
Just my own personal experience. I've lived where at one point I didn't think I'd be able to pay anything for my mortgage or anything like that, food. I was really struggling. I was poor. I had not enough money to do anything. I had 2 kids I was raising, and I had an ex-husband who wasn't paying me anything for the kids. And I was struggling. I was really struggling. I mean, there had been times when I thought, okay, do we eat or do we put the heat on? I mean, that's how bad it was. And now I have an abundance of money, and I'm still the same person. I'm still the same person. So to me, that does not, I can't equate that. I have Neptune in my second house. I can't, I just don't equate that whole thing with money and a person that is not reachable. I really like what you said, Jenna, about connecting. If you both have like there's a soul connection with somebody, it doesn't make a difference if they're, I have people who are very rich who are friends of mine. I have people who are, suffering from a lot of financial problems, and I feel the same way about them. And I to me, the balance is about on a soul level. It has nothing to do with what we own or it's what we share with each other. Mm-hmm. That's the way. That's just my opinion.
I can see what you're saying, Debbie. And I think that it comes down to like, for me to have a conversation with like an uber wealthy person is similar to me trying to be friends with Stephen Forrest by talking to him about astrology. We just have different capital. Like, it's not going to work out. But maybe my super rich friend is on the same wavelength with me about astrology. So we can have a talk about astrology. Like, we, social capital, all that aside, like we actually are equals in that way. Does that kind of make sense?
But I think friendships are flexible. They're not necessarily like you have your best friend, like you sleep with them, and then like they're in the same room, or they know where your back door in your home is, and that kind of friends and everything. But then you also have friends that are there's different layers of friendship, and there's different ways of balancing that out. Just my opinion.
So I have a Pluto North node conjunction in Libra. So I'm like insanely concerned with equality. And like, I don't know if you guys know those things like the power over structure, power with, and power under. Have you guys heard of that? Well, a Pluto North node Libra wants power with in every case, right? And so one of the reasons I'm so obsessed with time is time is a power choice. So people flex power with time a lot. So like, for example, let's say I was 15 minutes late to a reading that I was scheduled to do. I could be like, well, I'm the one doing the reading. You don't get it if I like, it's like a power move of just like, is she flexing power on me? Right. But if I show up right on time and I show respect, and the other person shows up right on time and we both show respect, we're equal. It's like power width. But if someone's late, like it's the power thing gets all weird. Like, and that's why I've always gotten really into the let's both show up on time and have a power width. It doesn't matter how much money we have, doesn't matter who has more social capital. We both respected each other by showing up on time, and so we are equal. And I think that's my obsession with time, is actually an obsession with equality. So
Yes, 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 yes.
I think that time and money are so tightly intertwined anyway, too, because I think we get money from spending our energy towards that goal. And as humans, it takes time to spend that energy and you get money. And then if one person chooses to have more time than money, that's a choice, you know? And then if another person chooses to have less free time, not spent earning money, then I think that it does. It's not just about time or money in isolation. It's also about values and energy.
Yeah.
Well,
Kimber, how did you feel about students at the school who were like tardy? Did that show, or how did that influence?
You had to think about the type of school I was teaching at. Like, there's a lot of reasons why a kid might be tardy. Their parent might have just worked like a full night shift and got home to make sure they got, like, so, or a bus broke down. It's more like that used to bother me. And then I was like, I'm actually viewing as if we woke up and had the same morning. And it's like, I grew up in a house where like my mom made sure I did my homework. My backpack was packed. I had my school supplies. I made it to school. That's not what's happening with my kids. Like, it was a very different experience. And it was very eye-opening for me, of just like what, like, equality versus equity. And so I think I was like, let's make the best use of time. I made sure like they were really caught up, but I do see, like, I think I was always rushed because like that's not an equitable relationship though, because I'm the teacher and they're kids. But I was thinking earlier about what you were like, the way you are a teacher, and you notice when other people aren't, like, you pull everyone in, or you try to give everyone like the same amount of energy in a class. And I think it's like, you want an equitable, you treat your adult students like they're your equals, and not all teachers do that. Like, I treat my 7th graders differently than my adult students that I've had, where I hate when people talk down to students that are kids, but it's like, I also understand like they are not in control of like why they're late. Like, they're 13, they're 12. So it's very different. Maybe I would have felt differently if like I had college students who were late to my class, like rolling in. I don't like, that feels a little bit different. But I do think, like, I was thinking about my other educational experiences in astrology. Let me be careful. But it's like, I get so much out of like an hour with you, because like you're very aware of like who's not talking. Let's hear from this person. And you do like keep pace of making sure we get as much as we can in an hour. Not everyone thinks that way.
And maybe a better question is, how can we have equal or equitable relationships when there is a disparity, whether it be monetary or teacher student or social capital? How can we, I don't mean to take up too much time, so we don't have to answer this if you guys don't want, but how can we have an equal relationship when there is an inherent disparity?
I think you have to be willing. It's like, it's not even equal, it's equitable. Like, I had a student who came in, and they had been in the country for a week, and they were from Haiti, and so they only spoke French. I don't know French, but I got a French English dictionary, and we had to work it out. But it's like being willing to pull in resources, and not, it's like someone has to meet the other person where they're at. Like, we have to find a meeting point. Like, it's not going to be equal.
Okay, so then can 6th house relationships be equitable relationships?
If both are serving in some way, yeah.
Or like you're talking about like master servant, or like employee employer kind of relationship.
Yeah, because it's like that hierarchy that we were talking about.
So I view mentor mentee. It's like I learned a lot from my students, like, as a person, and I think to me it should be a two-way relationship in some way. Maybe like I taught them content, but they taught me a lot more about empathy and patience and compassion, and like that, to me, that those are both very equal. I don't know, like just in different, but again, I think it goes back to what Jay-Z was saying about our values of just, do you see the weight of like what you can learn from your mentee or your student?
Mm.
That was a big topic.
I have a question around children in society. I feel like we, like in America, treat children like they're not really full members of society. And so, and that was making me think about like equality or equity, but it's like we tolerate children, or it's like they're having age appropriate responses to certain things. And it's like, are we wanting children to act like adults in some ways? Or, you know, we have all these trampoline parks and just like all these things that are for kids. But then in like other countries, like the kids are in the adult spaces and like part of like, being kids. And so I was just like, wanted to hear about that through this lens.
You know what? I feel like you're blessed to be in this era, because in my generation, parents did beat their children. That was acceptable back then. You know, punishments were severe, and children had to be children, and you had to be proper children, and you had to do the right thing. Otherwise, you were going to get punished in some way. It's much different now. I love that you're saying that, because I feel that's a step up on an evolutionary
No, I have a question
level.
Like, because like that's what I was wondering. I was like, you know, okay, I see all these random videos of people getting so mad because there's a baby crying on an airplane and the parents trying, and it's like, you can't really fix that. But it made me wonder, like, do you think that's like a evolutionary, like it's left over from like this whole you should be seen and not heard, and so there's like this frustration around when they're
Could be, yeah, could be.
or
well.
like I've seen that too. It's like, well, I would have been beat for this, or like this wasn't allowed. Like when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to be this way, and so it's like that can also be frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also a symptom of the lack of community and the lack of like tribe that we have, because I think people who get like really annoyed that a child is being annoying, it's almost like they have the drive within them to show up as a community member. But since our society is kind of like, no, don't walk up to a stranger and say, hey, do you want a break? Can I hold your baby for you? Since that's not acceptable in our society, it turns into just unprocessed angst and energy.
I'm glad you brought up community, because I feel like that also ties into like our relationship with equality or equity.
Well, okay, so one of the things that has been different for me as an astrologer is that I see the child as an inhabitor of their life path and purpose, and certain wisdoms that come with their chart from a very young age. You know, if they have, you know, if a kid has Mars in Gemini and you don't, they might have a wisdom about fighting with words that you don't, right? Like even though they're 5 or 7 or so even when I'm talking to babies, you know, when people put pacifiers in babies' mouths, it drives me nuts. I'm like, they're literally talking to you right now. Yeah, their muscles can't make the words, but their Mercury is at work and they're talking to you. So I guess being an astrologer has made me see children very differently, and I always treat them as if they're huge souls in a little tiny body, and that they are equal to me, because they have a chart that they've inhabited and that they know more about than we can know about. Like each of us is our own special, you know, system of awareness. So I don't know, that's what I would say to that.
What do you think, Jay-Z?
Well, I do think it comes down to community too, and it comes down to personal experience. Like until I was raising a kid, I didn't really realize or understand or feel as compassionate towards children, because I was raised, like Debbie said, in a situation where my parents and aunts and uncles and that whole generation of people thought that this new generation was spoiling the kids because they didn't spank them, kind of thing. And And so I had to discover for myself, like, oh wait, but when you're actually the parent, you have a totally different perspective. And I came to realize, like, oh God, I would never want to do that. That just like wouldn't work. And also it would be like, yeah, it would not be in the greatest good for all. Like, this kid is a kid, and like I understand why he's doing what he's doing, you know? And so I do think there is something about the experiential part of being around kids that it is teaches us.
Yeah.
And there we go. We're right back to the beginning of this show where we have the balance based on our experiences that we had from our parents. And now we're lightening up and we really see it from a different point of view, because we're not going to do that to our kids now, you know, and we have to teach them. There's always, if you look at every generation, it goes like that. It just goes like that, you know?
Like the swing.
Yeah.
It's like social revolutions. Like we swing way, like the revolution happens, the French Revolution swings way back, and then it's like we got to find a correction point.
Yep.
That's really interesting. I think because I feel like it could be kids. I think anyone who's dependent in our society, like the elderly, people who are disabled, like it could really go with just anyone. But I feel like community that was such a good point. And like experience being around, being involved in your community. Because I'm like, well, my mom would go and help people like with their babies or invite them if they didn't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving, and like or talk to everyone like they're the same. I was like, that affected me and how I view and treat people. So
yeah, my kids were raised with a lot of community, like passing babies around. We're all breastfeeding each other's children, like very.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know it was a little. Now I look back and I'm like, that was unique. But
I roll puke in my mouth. No, that was a whole thing. That was a whole attachment parenting generation thing.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, we attachment parented hard, like
To
baby
other
wearing,
people's
breastfeeding, sleeping in the beds.
Dude, when attachment parenting goes wrong and the kid's like 12 still sleeping in the bed, and I was an attachment parent, but I'm just so like face palm, get that kid out of the bed.
My son is a teenager, and every night he's like, Mom, my bed is very comfortable. You're allowed to sleep in my bed. It's the best bed in the house. It really is. And I'm like, son, no, you're 13. I'm actually not good at that. But it's funny because like they grow up and then they become like, to throw them in that environment. My parents tried to put my son in the corner once. You guys know, like stand in the corner. They know that they can't hit my kids, but they tried to put him in the corner and he thought it was hilarious. He's like, you want me to stare at the wall? But what? This is a punishment? What am I supposed to do here? Like, yep, it all fell apart.
Oh.
We evolve.
Oh yeah, we should do a parenting episode. That would be controversial. Parenting is so controversial. Oh my God. I'm so glad I'm out of that world. I mean, I love my kid. I just hanging out with all the other moms is always stressful. They're like, don't feed it candy, don't feed it candy. Ah, like it was just
now on social media, it's like that's everyone's just shaming each other. Like you're not doing this right. It's like crazy.
And now my 42-year-old son is going, Mom, don't give that kid a candy.
Oh, it's a mess, you guys. It's a mess.
Oh my God. All right, well, this was a wonderful episode of just like what a really good discussion. Thank you all for being here. Any last words? Okay.
This was great. I kind of like it when we only get to 2 questions. It means it was juicy.
Totally. All right, so tomorrow we're doing our time lapse, our art time lapses.
Yes, we are.
All right. See y'all tomorrow.
All right.
Bye.